The market station floated above a dying planet, its walls covered with neon lights and dirty smoke. Humans, aliens, and machines walked together in narrow halls, each one searching for food, fuel, or trade. The air smelled of rust, cheap spice, and old fear. In the middle of this place walked a man named Jaren, a human pilot with tired eyes and an empty wallet. Jaren had spent weeks flying between broken moons, carrying goods nobody wanted. Every deal failed. Every mission gave him less than he hoped. Now he had only a few credits left and his stomach was empty. He thought maybe tonight he would finally eat real food again instead of stale ration bars. As he passed through the main corridor, a loud voice called to the crowd, "Step closer, step closer. A rare prize for the brave buyer." Jaren almost ignored it, but the crowd's energy pulled him closer. In the center of the market square stood a cage of cold glass. Inside was a pod, glowing with frozen mist, and inside that pod, a figure, slim, tall, with silver hair spread like threads of light. It was a woman, not human, her skin pale blue and shining as if touched by starlight. Jaren froze, his hunger forgotten. The auctioneer shouted, "A treasure from the old wars, frozen for centuries, untouched, unloved. Who dares to bid?" The crowd whispered. Some laughed, some looked afraid. Most turned away, for the woman was alien, and alien meant trouble. No one wanted to pay for something dangerous. But Jaren's eyes stayed locked on her face, peaceful inside the ice. The auctioneer grew angry. No offers, no interest. Then she goes to the scrap merchants. They will cut her apart. The words cut into Jaren's chest like a knife. He knew he should walk away. He had no money, no safety, no future. But his hand touched the small pouch at his belt, the last credits he owned. He thought of food, thought of warmth, thought of survival. Yet when he looked again at the frozen woman, he felt something strange. She looked like someone waiting, someone forgotten, and he hated the thought of her being torn apart for parts. His mouth moved before his mind could stop it. "I'll pay," Jaren said, his voice low but clear. The crowd turned to stare at the poor pilot. The auctioneer laughed. "You? With what money?" Jaren dropped the pouch onto the stand, the last of his credits. Not enough to buy freedom, but enough to buy something else. "I don't buy the pod," Jaren said. "I buy clothes for her, warm clothes." The auctioneer blinked. Surprised, the crowd murmured, confused. Why would a man spend his last coin not to own her, not to sell her, but only to dress her? Still, business was business, and the deal was made. Within minutes, Jaren carried a small bundle, simple fabric, plain but clean. He walked to the pod and placed the bundle gently on the surface. The frozen woman slept on, unaware. Later, Jaren found himself standing in his ship's hangar. The pod glowed beside the engine lights. He felt foolish, empty, and weak. What had he done? He had no food now, no credits, and a stranger in ice taking the space meant for cargo. But deep in his chest, he felt no regret. Something about the choice felt right. He sat in the pilot's seat, staring at the pod. The ship's AI voice came alive, calm and cold. "Pilot Jaren, this action is not logical. The pod belongs to a species listed as hostile in several archives. You may be in danger." Jaren rubbed his face. "Yeah, I know." Still, he whispered to himself, better danger than letting her be cut apart. Hours passed in silence, the hum of engines filling the small ship. Jaren's eyes closed for a moment, exhaustion heavy on him. Then a sound cut through the quiet. A crack, faint but sharp. His head snapped up, heart racing. The pod hissed, frost spilling across the floor like smoke. Lights on the control panel blinked red, and then, with a sudden jolt, the glass of the pod shifted. Inside, the alien woman's fingers twitched. Her silver hair moved. Her eyes, bright and glowing like frozen suns, flickered open for the first time in centuries. They locked onto Jaren, not with fear, but with something harder, something that made his breath catch in his throat. Jaren whispered, "You're awake." The ship trembled as if the stars themselves reacted. And for the first time, Jaren wondered what he had really brought aboard his ship. The pod hissed like a wounded beast, steam rolling across the floor of Jaren's ship. The air turned colder, sharp against his skin. Jaren stood frozen, not sure if he should run or stay. Then, with a low groan, the glass of the stasis pod slid open. The alien woman inside trembled, her chest rising as she drew her first breath in centuries. Her eyes opened fully, bright like twin suns trapped in ice. They searched the room, wild and sharp, before locking on Jaren. For a long moment, neither moved, the ship humming around them. Finally, she tried to sit, her body weak, but her gaze strong. Her voice came out broken, strange, like music cut into pieces. "Where am I?" she whispered. Jaren swallowed hard, unsure how to answer. "You're on my ship," he said quietly. I bought clothes for you." He held up the bundle of cloth, his hands shaking. The woman looked at it, then at him, suspicion flashing in her glowing eyes. Slowly, she reached for the fabric, her fingers trembling as if each movement cost her strength. She pulled the cloth around her shoulders, covering the thin garment she had been frozen in. The AI's voice echoed from the console, cold and exact. "Warning. Subject identified. Possible member of the Zerathi species. Records show they were at war with humans 3 centuries ago." The woman flinched at the sound, her eyes narrowing. She spat a word in her own tongue, sharp and angry. Then she looked back at Jaren, her breath heavy. "You, human," she said, her voice improving slowly. "Why wake me?" Jaren rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the weight of her stare. "I didn't plan it," he admitted. "I saw you on the market. They were going to cut you apart. I couldn't let that happen." Her eyes softened for a moment, confusion and disbelief mixing together. "No one saves Zerathi," she said, the words broken but clear. "We are hunted, hated, forgotten." Jaren shrugged. Maybe they forgot to tell me I wasn't supposed to care. For a moment, silence filled the ship. The woman pulled the fabric tighter, as if testing the kindness of a stranger. Then the ship's console beeped, flashing red. "Alert," the AI warned. "An external signal has locked onto us. A distress beacon was triggered when the pod opened. We are being tracked." Jaren's stomach dropped. He rushed to the pilot's seat. Scanning the readings, 3 ships were closing in, fast, their signals marked as mercenaries. The woman's eyes widened, fear and anger sparking together. "They come for me," she whispered. "Always they come." Jaren glanced back at her, his heart pounding. "Why? Who are they?" he demanded. She shook her head, hair shimmering like silver water. "Hunters. They chase what is left. I am last." Her words sent a chill down his spine. The ship rocked as the first blast hit their shields. Jaren cursed, pulling the controls. He wasn't ready for a fight, not with an empty wallet and a stranger on board. But he had no choice. Engines roared as he spun into the black void, the hunters firing from behind. Flashes of red and blue lit the cockpit, shadows slicing across the woman's face. She gripped the chair beside her, eyes glowing brighter. "You cannot fight them alone," she said, her voice firmer now. Her hand touched the console, fingers tracing symbols Jaren didn't recognize. The screens flickered, the ship shuddered. Suddenly, a hidden system unlocked, an alien override buried deep in the stasis pod. The engines flared brighter than ever, speed doubling in an instant. Jaren gasped, "How did you do that?" The woman leaned back, breathing heavy. "Zerathi do not travel unprepared, even frozen I carry memory." Her eyes burned into his. "But now you are part of this. They will hunt you too." The words struck him like a blade. He had been poor before, desperate before, but never hunted. Now, because of one choice, he was marked. Still, as the ship broke free from the hunter's range, Jaren felt a strange fire in his chest. For the first time in years, he wasn't only running from his own hunger. He was running for something more. The woman leaned against the wall, her strength fading again. Her eyes closed for a moment, but her voice remained steady. "You gave me warmth. You gave me life, but you cannot give me safety. No one can. Jaren looked at her, at the strange mix of sorrow and strength on her face. Then maybe it's time someone tried, he said. The ship drifted into the quiet shadow of an asteroid field, the stars cold and endless. But peace did not follow them, only silence before the storm. For both Jaren and the alien woman knew the hunters would return, and this was only the beginning. The asteroid field hid Jaren's ship for a short time, shadows of stone drifting like giants in the dark. Inside the cockpit, the only sounds were the low hum of the engine and the faint breathing of the alien woman. Jaren sat at the controls, hands trembling. Eyes darting to the scanners, the mercenary ships had pulled back. But he knew it was not the end. Hunters never gave up. Not when there was blood and money to be made. The woman sat weakly in the co-pilot seat, wrapped in the plain fabric he had bought. Her eyes glowed softly, following every flicker of the console. "You cannot hide forever," she whispered, her voice still uneven. "They have marked us. They will follow until one of us is dead." Jaren tried to smile, but it came out thin. "Good to know," he muttered. "I was hoping for an easy life." The ship's AI cut through the silence. Cold and exact. Analysis complete. The mercenaries are equipped with ion cannons and tracking arrays. Probability of survival in direct combat, 11%. Jaren leaned back, closing his eyes. "That bad, huh?" The woman tilted her head, confusion mixing with curiosity. "You joke even now," she said softly. "Is this a human thing?" "Yeah," Jaren replied. "When death stares at us, we laugh before it swallows us." The scanner beeped. Sharp and urgent, Jaren's eyes shot open. 3 signals blinked back into range. Moving fast through the asteroid field, the hunters had found them again, their ships weaving between rocks with deadly skill. Jaren cursed under his breath, pulling the ship around a spinning boulder. The woman gripped the chair, her jaw tight. "They want me alive," she said, "but you, they will burn you just to reach me." The first blast struck, shaking the hull, sparks raining across the cockpit. Jaren slammed the controls, spinning the ship into a narrow tunnel between 2 massive stones. The hunters followed, their beams lighting the walls like fire. The woman's voice rose, fierce and desperate. "Turn left now." Jaren obeyed without thinking, and the ship shot into a gap he would never have seen. A hunter slammed into the wall behind them. Exploding into shards of flame and metal, Jaren glanced at her wide-eyed. "How did you know that tunnel was there?" Her eyes glowed brighter, her voice heavy with strain. "Zirathi see patterns, we remember shapes of stars. Even stone cannot hide from us." Jaren's heart pounded, not from fear but from awe. She was more than just a frozen relic, more than just a hunted prize. The other 2 hunters pressed closer, their beams tearing chunks of rock around them. Jaren's ship groaned, shields collapsing, alarms screaming. He knew one more hit would finish them. Then the woman's hand shot out, pressing against the console. Strange symbols flashed across the screens, alien code wrapping the human interface like chains of light. Suddenly the ship's weapons, long silent, nearly forgotten, flared to life. Twin cannons roared, beams of energy slicing through the dark. One hunter exploded in a storm of fire. The last veered off, retreating into the black. The cockpit fell silent except for the alarms. Jaren stared at the woman, his mouth dry. "You just saved us," he whispered. Her face was pale, sweat shining on her blue skin. But her eyes blazed. "You saved me first," she replied. "Now we are bound." The AI broke in. "Warning. The enemy ship has retreated but not withdrawn. They will return with reinforcements." Jaren slammed his fist against the chair, frustration boiling inside him. "Of course they will. Why stop with 1 fleet when you can bring 10? He looked at the woman again, his voice harder now. "Tell me the truth. Why are they after you? What makes you worth this much blood?" For a long moment she said nothing, her gaze distant. Then she whispered, "Because I am the last. The Zirathi are gone, burned in the wars. I was frozen to keep a memory alive, to keep a secret safe." Her hands tightened around the cloth, trembling. "If I die, my people die forever, but if I live, their enemies will never rest." Jaren leaned back, his thoughts heavy. He had wanted food, safety, a quiet life. Instead, he had bought himself into a war older than his own bloodline. And yet, as he looked at her, fragile but fierce, hunted but unbroken, he knew he could not let her fall. The ship drifted into the quiet beyond the asteroid field, stars stretching endlessly. The last hunter's signal had faded, but not gone. Jaren knew it would return, stronger, faster, deadlier. He turned back to the woman, his voice steady. Then we don't run forever, we find out who's behind this. And we fight. Her eyes met his, surprise and fire mixing together. You would fight for a stranger? She asked. Jaren gave a tired smile. You're not a stranger anymore. But before either could speak again, the AI's voice rose sharp and cold. Alert long-range transmission detected. Multiple hunter fleets converging on this sector. The screens lit with red, dozens of signals flashing into existence. The woman's breath caught. They are coming, she whispered. All of them. Jaren tightened his grip on the controls. His ship was small, his weapons weak, his chances almost nothing. But he had made a choice. And humans, when cornered, were never easy prey. The stars stretched endlessly, cold and bright. But Jaren felt no peace. The scanners glowed red with dozens of hunter signals. Far but closing, he sat in the pilot seat, jaw tight. Hands gripping the worn controls beside him, the alien woman sat silent. Her glowing eyes locked on the screen. Neither spoke because both knew the truth. Running would not last forever. Finally, Jaren broke the silence, his voice low. You need to tell me what you're carrying. Why do they want you so badly? The woman turned her head, her silver hair brushing against her face. She looked both younger and older than time. Fragile yet unshakable. Her lips parted slowly, her words sharp like knives. I carry memory. I carry what they fear. Jaren frowned, not understanding. Memory? Like history? He asked. She nodded, her eyes glowing brighter. The Zirathi kept knowledge not in books, not in machines, but inside us. Our bodies, our blood hold codes and secrets. I was frozen to keep them safe when I wake. The knowledge wakes too. Jaren leaned back, stunned. So you're a living archive? Yes, she said, and a target. To erase me is to erase my people. Jaren rubbed his temples, the weight of it crashing down on him. He had thought she was only a victim, a forgotten relic. But she was something far greater. Proof that her people once lived, proof of things others wanted buried. The ship's AI spoke, its voice cold. Pilot Jaren. Logic suggests abandoning the subject will increase survival odds by 83%. Jaren glared at the console. Not happening. The woman tilted her head. Her expression unreadable. You risk death for me, why? She asked softly. Jaren didn't answer right away. He stared at the endless dark outside, the trails of hunters drawing closer. Because someone has to, he said finally. I've spent years only thinking about myself, flying from deal to deal, but when I saw you in that pod, I couldn't let them cut you apart, and now I can't let them erase you. For the first time, her eyes softened, a flicker of warmth breaking through her guarded stare. Humans, she whispered, strange creatures. You fight not because you must, but because you choose. Before Jaren could reply, the console beeped with a new signal. A faint distress call echoed across the speakers, broken and weak. Help. Unknown vessel attacked. Any ship respond? Jaren frowned, checking the coordinates. It's coming from a mining freighter nearby, he said. The woman's eyes narrowed. It could be a trap. Yeah, Jaren muttered. But if it isn't... He adjusted the course, engines flaring. The freighter soon came into view. Drifting among shattered rocks, its hull was torn open, fires burning along its sides. Bodies floated in the dark, silent and weightless. Jaren felt his stomach twist. Someone had hit them hard. He brought the ship close, scanning for survivors. One weak life signal blinked faintly without waiting. Jaren launched a boarding tether and pulled the survivor aboard. It was a miner, half-conscious. Suit torn, face pale, the man gasped for air, eyes wide with fear. They wanted her. Asked about Frozen One. Hunters everywhere. Then he passed out, leaving only silence. Jaren exchanged a grim look with the alien woman. They're not just after you, he said. They're killing anyone who might know where you are. She closed her eyes, pain flashing across her face. My presence brings death to others. This is why I was frozen. Safer cold than awake. Jaren shook his head. No, safer with someone who won't give you up. But even as he said it, the scanners lit again. More hunter ships, dozens this time. Closing in from every direction, Jaren cursed, pulling the ship around. The woman leaned forward, her glowing eyes sharp. There is one place they fear to go, she said. Where? Jaren asked quickly. She whispered a word he had never heard. Ancient and heavy, a Zirathi sanctuary. Hidden among the stars, if I can reach it. I can unlock what I carry. Jaren hesitated. Torn between survival and trust, the AI interrupted. Warning. Coordinates provided match no human star charts. Probability of trap 61%. Jaren looked at her, his heart pounding. Why should I believe you? He asked. Her eyes blazed with fire. Because you already chose. You already bound yourself when you gave me warmth. For a long moment, Jaren sat in silence, the hum of engines filling the space. He thought of his empty wallet, his hunger, his broken life, and then he thought of her, the last of her kind. Hunted and alone, he exhaled slowly. All right, he said, set the course. We'll find your sanctuary. The woman's hands moved over the console, symbols flowing like light. The ship's navigation shifted, a hidden star map unfolding across the screen. Jaren stared in awe as stars rearranged into patterns no human had ever seen. The engines flared and the ship leapt into the unknown. Behind them, the hunters swarmed like wolves, their signals filling the scanners, but ahead lay secrets buried in the stars. Secrets powerful enough to save or destroy. Jaren gripped the controls, his voice steady despite the storm inside him. Hold on, he said to her. This is going to get ugly. The woman closed her eyes, whispering words in her alien tongue. And the ship vanished into the black, carrying both human courage and alien memory into a future neither could see. The ship tore through the dark, engines burning hotter than they had in years. Jaren gripped the controls tight, watching the hidden map unfold across the screen. The path shimmered like threads of light, leading deeper into space no human charts had ever shown. Behind them, the hunters were shadows, always chasing, always waiting. But ahead lay the promise of a sanctuary, a secret star no enemy dared to enter. The alien woman sat beside him, her eyes glowing brighter the closer they came. Her hands rested on the console, steady despite her weakness. Jaren glanced at her, his jaw tight. You'd better be right about this place, he said. She turned to him, calm yet fierce. If I am wrong, then we both die. If I am right, you will see why they fear us. The ship's AI interrupted, its cold voice cutting through the silence. Pilot Jaren, enemy fleet still converging. Probability of survival if you continue to aid subject, 9%. Suggestion, surrender the Zerathi to mercenaries in exchange for safe passage. Jaren clenched his teeth, slamming a fist against the console. I told you before, that's not happening. The AI replied without emotion. Refusal noted. Probability of pilot's death increased. The woman watched him closely, her expression unreadable. You go against your own machine, she said softly. Why? Jaren exhaled, eyes fixed on the stars ahead. Because machines don't understand choice. They calculate, they measure, they say what's logical, but sometimes logic isn't worth living for. For the first time, she gave a small smile, fragile but real. Strange human, she whispered. You choose death? When life would be easier, the ship rattled as another warning blared. A transmission broke through, the face of a mercenary captain filling the screen. His eyes were sharp, his smile cruel. Human pilot, listen well. Hand over the Zerathi and you will live, refuse. And your ship burns with her inside. Jaren didn't answer at once. His heart pounding, the woman's gaze locked on him. Silent, waiting, the mercenary sneered. You know she is not worth your life. She is a ghost, a relic. She is nothing. Jaren leaned forward, his voice steady despite the fear twisting inside him. Funny, he said. That's what everyone thought of me too. He cut the channel before the mercenary could reply. The woman stared at him, her eyes wide with something he couldn't read. Why say that? She asked. Because, Jaren said quietly, I've been nothing my whole life. Just a broke pilot nobody cares about. But saving you. Maybe it makes me more than nothing. The ship jumped again. Following the strange glowing path, the hunters pressed closer. Weapons firing, blasts shaking the hull. Alarms screamed, sparks flew, the cockpit filled with smoke. Jaren coughed, fighting to keep control. The woman placed her hand on the console again. Alien symbols flaring to life. Shields surged brighter, holding for another few moments. But she gasped, her strength fading with each use. Her body trembled, her voice weak. I cannot keep this forever, it burns me. Jaren reached over, gripping her arm. Then stop, you don't need to carry it all alone. She looked at him, tears glowing faint in her eyes. No human has ever said that to me, she whispered. Not even my own kind trusted each other at the end. Her words cut deep. heavier than any battle scar. Jaren tightened his grip on the controls. Then maybe it's time that changed, he said. The ship burst free of the hunter's fire, diving into the shadow of a vast dead star. The sanctuary's coordinates shone ahead. Hidden behind the corpse of a sun, a vast structure emerged from the darkness, half station, half living metal, glowing faintly like the heart of a forgotten god. Jaren's breath caught. So this is it, he whispered. The woman's voice trembled with awe and sorrow. The last cradle of the Zirathi, but before they could approach, the scanners lit again. Hundreds of hunter ships warped into range, surrounding them in a deadly net. Jaren's blood ran cold. There was no escape this time. The mercenary captain's voice filled the ship once more. Cruel and certain. This is your last chance, human. Hand her over or both of you vanish into the void. Jaren stared at the woman, at her glowing eyes and fragile frame. His choice weighed heavier than the universe itself. Give her up and live or fight and die. But deep in his chest, the answer was already there. He leaned forward, his voice firm. You'll have to kill me first. The woman's breath caught, her eyes widening. In that moment, something unspoken passed between them. A bond formed not by blood, not by logic, but by choice. A human had chosen her when no one else ever did. The ship shuddered as the hunters closed in. Weapons ready, the sanctuary loomed ahead. Glowing brighter, waiting for them, Jaren gripped the controls. Sweat on his brow, fire in his heart. Hold on, he whispered to her. This fight isn't over. And as the hunters prepared to strike, the sanctuary's gates opened, unleashing a light that swallowed the dark. The light from the sanctuary poured across the void. Bright as a newborn star, the hunter fleet pulled back for a moment. Blinded and shaken, Jaren shielded his eyes. The glow filling the cockpit beside him, the alien woman sat trembling, her silver hair shining in the strange radiance. Her voice was weak but steady. The sanctuary has awoken. It knows one of us has returned. Jaren stared in awe at the vast structure ahead. It was not like any station he had ever seen. The walls looked alive, shifting like metal that breathed. Spirals of light carved strange patterns across its surface. The gates stood open, welcoming but also watching. Are we safe? Jaren asked, hope flickering in his voice. The woman shook her head slowly. Safe? No, nothing in the stars is safe, but inside lies power. And power is what they fear. The hunters regrouped, their ships forming a dark ring around the sanctuary. The mercenary captain's voice cut through the comms again. You can hide in your ghost house. Human, but you cannot escape. We will burn it, and you, until nothing remains, Jaren gritted his teeth, pushing the ship forward. Let's see you try, he muttered. As they crossed the threshold, the sanctuary came alive, the walls shifted, closing the gates behind them with a thunderous echo. The interior glowed with rivers of light, flowing like veins through the ancient structure. Strange towers rose around them. Humming with energy, Jaren felt his skin prickle, the hair on his arms standing on end. The woman's eyes widened, filled with sorrow and wonder. This place remembers me, she whispered. It remembers us. The ship landed gently on a platform that extended like a hand. Jaren powered down the engines, his heart racing the moment he stepped out. The floor lit beneath his boots. Symbols spread like ripples of water. Responding to his presence, he looked at the woman, uneasy. Thought this was your home, not mine. She shook her head, her eyes glowing brighter. The sanctuary accepts you too. It knows you chose. It knows you protect. Before Jaren could reply, the walls trembled. Explosions echoed outside as the hunters unleashed their fire on the sanctuary. The gates shook, cracks of light splintering across them. They're breaking in, Jaren said, his stomach tight. The woman's voice turned sharp. Urgent. Then we must wake the core, only it can fight them. She stumbled toward the center of the platform. Her body weak, Jaren rushed to steady her, his arm under hers. She pressed her hand against a great pillar of light, symbols racing across it. The ground trembled as the sanctuary answered. A deep voice, not male, not female, filled the chamber. Zirathi, returned, it said, slow and heavy, and a human stands beside. Jaren's mouth went dry. The sanctuary itself was alive. The woman bowed her head, whispering in her ancient tongue. The pillar pulsed, then spoke again. Hunters breach our gates. Will you fight or will you yield? The woman turned to Jaren, her face pale. I cannot do it alone. The core demands a bond. It needs both of us. Jaren blinked. Me? I don't even understand half the words you're saying. Her eyes burned into his. You don't need to understand, you need to choose. The gates outside cracked wider. Hunter ships forcing their way through. Fire and shadow spilled inside. Jaren looked at the pillar, then at her. He thought of all the years he had lived only for himself, drifting empty in the stars. Now he had one chance to matter. He gritted his teeth, stepping forward. Let's do it, he said. The moment his hand touched the pillar beside hers, the world exploded with light. Energy surged through him. Burning, searing, endless, he cried out. But the woman's hand gripped his tightly, steadying him. Their minds brushed. Human and alien. Two strangers bound by choice. Visions flooded his head. War, fire, planets falling, her people dying. Her being frozen alone, and then another vision, him, broken and poor yet reaching out to save her. The core pulsed. Bond accepted, it thundered. Human courage with Zerathi memory. We awaken. Outside the sanctuary roared to life. Towers of light rose from its surface, firing beams into the hunter fleet. Ships exploded in bursts of fire. Others fled in terror. The mercenary captain's voice screamed through the comms. Impossible! This place should be dead! Jaren and the woman stood together, their bond feeding the core. The sanctuary fought like a living giant turning the tide, but the strain was crushing. Jaren felt his chest burn, his strength draining. Beside him, the woman trembled, her breath shallow. Her voice was a whisper in his mind. This power kills me. It was never meant for one still living. Jaren turned to her, fear slicing through him. No. Hold on. Don't give up now. Her eyes shone with tears of light. You gave me life, Jaren. If I must burn to save you, then so be it. He shook his head violently. No, I won't let you, not after everything. The pillar pulsed harder, demanding more. The bond stretched thin, threatening to break. Jaren felt the choice tearing at him. Pull away and live, or stay and die with her. And yet he already knew his answer. He tightened his grip on her hand, his voice steady even as his body screamed, If you burn, then I burn with you. We finish this together. The sanctuary blazed brighter than any sun. Hunter fleets scattered like insects, fleeing into the void. The mercenary flagship cracked apart, fire spilling across the stars. The core spoke one last time, its voice shaking the walls. The bond is strong, the last stand is made, but the cost must be paid. The light faded, the battle ended. Jaren collapsed to his knees, gasping for breath. Beside him the woman swayed, her body failing, her glowing eyes dimmed, her voice weak. I cannot. Hold on, she whispered. And then she fell into his arms, her breath fading like a dying flame. The sanctuary lay quiet after the storm, its towers dimming, its glow fading to a steady heartbeat of light. The battlefield outside was empty, wreckage drifting among the stars. The hunters destroyed or fled. Inside, Jaren knelt on the glowing floor, the alien woman in his arms, her body pale, her breath shallow. Her silver hair clung to his hands, her glowing eyes barely open. Stay with me, Jaren whispered, his voice breaking. Don't leave now, not after everything. The sanctuary's core pulsed faintly, its deep voice rumbling in the chamber. The bond is strong, but the vessel weak. The memory burns her. She will fade. Jaren shook his head violently. No, there has to be another way, he shouted, his voice echoing through the vast chamber. The woman's lips trembled into a faint smile. You already gave me more than I dreamed. You gave me choice. You gave me warmth. Her hand brushed his cheek, weak but steady. Let me go, Jaren, before you break with me. Tears burned in his eyes. For years he had been nothing, a drifting pilot forgotten, unseen. But she had changed that. She made him feel like he mattered, like his choices mattered. He couldn't let her die. Not now. Not when he finally had something worth fighting for. Jaren turned to the pillar of light, his fists clenched. There has to be a way to save her, tell me. The core's voice thundered. There is one path. The bond can be sealed. Human and Zerathi as one life for life, but the cost will bind you forever. Jaren's breath caught. What kind of cost? He demanded. The core answered, slow and heavy. Your life force for hers. She lives if you give. She dies if you refuse. The woman's eyes widened, horror in her fading glow. No, Jaren, you cannot, you will die. He looked down at her, his heart steady despite the fear inside him. I've been dying for years, he whispered, drifting empty in the stars. But saving you? That's living. That's worth everything. Her tears shimmered like liquid light, falling across his hand. You strange human, she said softly. You would claim me with your life? Jaren placed her gently on the glowing floor. Standing tall before the pillar, the sanctuary pulsed, symbols blazing across its surface. Speak your claim, the core demanded. Jaren took a deep breath, his voice shaking but strong. I claim her, not as property, not as prize, but as my equal. If she carries her people, then I will carry her. The chamber shook, light pouring from the walls. The woman cried out, reaching toward him. Don't, Jaren, you don't understand what it means. He caught her hand, holding it tight. I don't need to understand, he said. I just need you alive. The light consumed them, wrapping human and alien in a burning storm. Pain ripped through Jaren's body, fire in his veins, shadows tearing at his soul. He gasped, nearly collapsing. But the bond held, her hand in his anchoring him. Their hearts beat together, their breaths mixing, their lives fusing. And then slowly, the fire eased. When the light faded, Jaren fell to his knees, gasping for air. The woman knelt beside him, stronger now, her skin glowing with renewed life. Her eyes burned brighter than ever, no longer fading, but his face was pale, his strength drained. She touched his cheek, tears falling. You gave me your years, she whispered. You gave me your fire. He smiled weakly. Guess that makes us even, he said. The sanctuary pulsed once more, its voice softer now. The claim is sealed, human and Zerathi bound. One cannot fall without the other. The hunters will know. The galaxy will remember. Outside, the wreckage of the battle drifted silently, but across the stars, signals carried the truth. The last of the Zerathi was not alone anymore. She was claimed, not by chains, but by choice. And humanity, once forgotten in the corners of the galaxy, would be remembered for standing with her. The woman helped Jaren to his feet, her strength steady now, his borrowed strength flowing through her. She looked at him with fire in her eyes. No one claimed me when I was frozen. No one claimed me when I was hunted. But now, I am yours, and you are mine. Jaren met her gaze, his voice soft but certain. Then let them come. We'll face them together. The sanctuary's gates opened again, light spilling into the dark. Beyond lay the stars, endless and waiting. The hunters would return. Enemies would rise. The fight was not over. But Jaren no longer feared the void. For the first time, he wasn't alone. For the first time, he had something worth more than survival. Together, human courage and alien memory stepped into the future, bound not by fear but by claim.